nOw.
And welcome back. Hello. You can hear. You can hear. I can see it going up. But yeah, how's everybody doing? I hope you all enjoyed the review of Warcraft. I enjoy that movie, so I hope you guys did too. Um, yeah, and we are back. I'm here as always with Trevor.
What's up, everybody?
And yeah, we're going to be talking about the weekend wrestling as well as Hell in a Cell from this past Sunday. We are not going to be talking about Raw from last night. We will save that for Sunday coming up. But yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and just kind of get started because we are kind of a late start, so I don't want to hold everybody up too late. But thank you, Emma, for joining. I know you. I've played Fortnite with you. Hello. But yeah, so Raw happened on June 14th. Thank you, Ty, for the host. And let's see here. Let's see. So we opened up with Nikki Cross versus Charlotte. Yeah, how did you feel about this? This was kind of a sloppy display. It was yeah, I mean it was less than a minute.
Yeah, just bury Nikki
Yeah.
after giving her a couple wins, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and we'll talk about her more next week. Well, on Sunday, because she is now something completely new. But next up, we had Jeff Hardy versus John Morrison and Cedric Alexander. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't necessarily know how I felt about this either. This Raw was kind of sloppy in general. I mean, it had some spots to it, but overall, it was just sloppy. Um, but yeah, Jeff Hardy ended up picking up the win in this one with a Swanton bomb.
It, just, just why?
I completely agree. It didn't feel like there's any reason for this whatsoever. Um, I mean, even in the beginning, Jeff Hardy coming out and John Morrison spraying him in the face with his drip stick. Um, yeah, it's just I don't understand what's going on there. But next up, we have the return of Eva Marie, kind of. So Eva Marie did return, but she was not alone. She was joined by Piper Nevin from NXT UK. If you have not watched NXT UK, she also was in the Mae Young Classic. She is a very talented wrestler.
I
Um,
I seen her in the Mae Young Classic. I don't watch NXT UK
yeah.
usually. I know you say it's good, but I just haven't had watched
Yeah,
it.
and even in the Mae Young Classic, she did well. She wasn't a first round exit. I'm pretty sure she made it to the semis until she got beat. Bat says, "Oh God, why do we need Eva?" I mean, to be fair, she hasn't wrestled yet. Um, I mean, this was supposed to be her debut. This match was technically Eva Marie versus Naomi, but Eva wasn't the one that did the match, but she still gets the win. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how that is. Eva ended up grabbing the mic and declaring herself the winner. Um, I'm interested to see where this goes. Unfortunately, I know what happens this week, so and I'm not gonna hint on it. So that's kind of it's gonna be rough talking about Raw from last week when Raw from this week already happened.
Why did they act like nobody knew who she was too? The announcers. who is this? Who is this? I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if
watch the Mae Young Classic. But I know not a lot of people watch NXT UK, but she's been on other stuff. So
yeah, and I mean, they don't do that when people from NXT come up.
yeah,
Um,
it's stupid every time
they they already know who the person is when they debut. Typically, I mean, we haven't had a surprise from NXT in a long time, so I mean, I guess. Uh, but yeah, we haven't had that in a minute. Next up, we have the New Day versus RK Bro. Um, the match ended with Orton hitting Woods with an RKO when he was going for the honor roll, which was a nice segment. This was probably the best part of the entire show, to be honest with you.
uh,
Um, Go on.
this was a really good match. I mean,
Oh, I
for
agree.
for Raw. I mean, for anything, but especially for Raw, because all four of these guys are good. I mean,
Yeah,
New
yeah,
Day, one of the best tag teams,
yeah,
and
and
RK Bro is becoming really good.
I do like how. I mean, this has been going on. This little feud has been going on for about a month now, a month or so.
Yeah,
Um,
they've changed it up enough where it doesn't feel stale like a lot of the other
yeah, but this
ones.
seemed like it was the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah,
Will, thank you for the host. Um, yeah, but that was a good match. It was probably the best match of the night. Well, easily the best match of the night. The next match wasn't too bad though. We had Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. Um, yeah, I mean the match itself was good. Rhea Ripley ended up hitting the Riptide for the win. And then as soon as the match was over, Charlotte attacked Rhea Ripley, and they had a little brawl there for a minute, setting up for their Hell in a Cell match, which makes sense. So I don't mind that too much, especially because it was after the match and it didn't end in disqualification.
yeah. I still
Thunderbird,
don't
thanks for
like
the host.
to see Asuka just losing on a Monday Night Raw, but
Yeah, I mean they could have picked anyone else, but at least they picked somebody that was good enough to put on a pretty decent match.
yeah,
I mean it was a good match overall. The brawl afterwards, I don't mind that just because we were just 6 days away from Hell in a Cell, so it does make sense.
yeah,
Um,
that part made sense and was fine. Uh,
yeah. Next up, we had Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax, um, which was questionable. I didn't know really how I felt about how they were going with this because, yes, they've made Alexa Bliss kind of seem like she has powers in the past, kind of, but nothing to the point of where she is putting people in trances. Um, but this we did have Alexa Bliss putting Reginald in a trance, um, and she also ended up picking the win here, and she brought back Twisted Bliss, which was a nice touch. I enjoyed that. Um, how did you feel about that?
it was an okay match, nothing like special, but it's nice to see Alexa actually wrestle because I do like enjoy her as a wrestler,
Yeah.
and the storyline is okay. I don't hate it as much as I've seen some hate for it because they've
Hmm.
done supernatural stuff before. Obviously, I mean, the
Yeah.
Fiend alone, the Undertaker,
Undertaker.
Kane.
Yep.
So it it's nothing like, oh my god, stupid. But and it is kind of stupid. But then that's wrestling. There's kind of stupid stuff that you still can like. So yeah, I don't hate it, but it's not like my favorite thing. But
Yeah.
I do like Alexa Bliss's character.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it
I
kind of just feels like it was just stolen off of Bray. I know Bray's going through some stuff right now, so that's why the Fiend's not there. But she's taken it over pretty well, being the female figure of the Fiend. So I do enjoy that. My favorite part of this match was 100% her hitting Twisted Bliss because we haven't seen that move in
and I just wish
two
they would have let her
years.
win. Just if you're gonna, she had it was over. I mean, everybody knew she was gonna. Nia was gonna be pinned there, so why not just let her win instead of having
A
you know,
disqualification.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to see those They do them every week. There's at least one.
at least one, at least. But yeah, next up we had Elias versus Jackson Riker. Barely any sort of match whatsoever. Elias ended up running away again. He allowed himself to get counted out for the second time. We're just gonna brush right by that because that storyline is just nothing but countouts
Yeah,
and
nobody cares.
dumb stuff. Um, and then to end the show, we had Drew McIntyre and the Viking Raiders versus AJ Styles, Omos, and Bobby Lashley, which was actually a pretty decent show. McIntyre did end the show getting a pin on Bobby Lashley. Um, but yeah, I mean, I I can see why this was the main event. You have the two guys that are going to main event Hell in a Cell. Why you put Viking Raiders and almost and AJ Styles in there, I guess it makes sense. So you don't have to make one of them look weak, but then you end up having Lashley get pinned instead of AJ Styles, which that part didn't make sense to me. But yeah,
Yeah, it's like AJ can afford to take the loss, so
yeah.
it makes Lashley look weak as a champion.
Yeah,
But
that's the only thing that didn't make sense to me in this match was Bobby Lashley taking the pin.
or if you wanted to do the disqualification, you could have just done it in this match instead of one that made no sense and didn't add anything. They could have just all came together in a big brawl or something. And
Yeah, absolutely.
why the hell didn't they have the tag titles on the show?
They didn't have either of the tag title. I mean,
The
it was
Raw-
only 6 matches.
The Raw ones weren't on the last one either.
Were the SmackDown ones on the last one? That was Backlash, right? Yeah, that was Backlash.
Yeah, Mysterio's one of them.
You're right.
But
The
yeah,
Mysterio's one there.
the Raw ones haven't been on a pay-per-view since Mania. Oh, yeah.
That's wild. That's wild. Well, Vince really doesn't like tag team wrestling, so it doesn't surprise
I
me
know.
at all. But yeah, that was Raw. So yeah, take it on to NXT. Make us a little bit happier.
All right, NXT time. All right, we started off with hold on, let me bring up the notes so I can make sure I started on the right place.
You're good.
Regal comes to the ring to talk, and he's talking about all the shenanigans that went down and how he lost control and how he's gonna probably take a step back. And Karrion Kross, Music Kids, comes out and he's telling him he told him so. He was gonna lose control. He basically just going off on Regal.
Mhm.
Tells him to tell him he's never coming back and get the hell out of here and not come back. And then Samoa Joe's music hit, and Samoa Joe gets in the ring, gets kind of like in Cross's face, and then he's like, "You wanted to see me, Regal?" And Regal's like, "Yeah, but I want to do it in the back." And then he tries to make Joe the GM, and Joe says no, but he basically will be the enforcer.
Yep.
And Regal's like, okay, but he has two stipulations. One, he can't be a competitor. He can't get clearance right now anyway, so.
Yep.
And two, he doesn't touch anybody. And then he says, unless provoked, and Karrion Kross gets like a worried look on his face, and then Joe accepts. So Joe is the new enforcer, and I really like this.
Yeah, I like this as well. I kind of figured when they signed him back, that's where they were going with it. Or there's potential that he was going to be GM, period. I do like this better because hopefully he does eventually get cleared, so he can transition pretty quick from going from enforcer to in the ring. But yeah, I like this move.
And I think that's why Triple H wanted him back, because he knows he will get cleared soon or eventually, and he didn't want him wrestling for somebody else like AEW, because Joe's older, but he still can go.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Daniel Bryan spoke out about it before, and he said, "Well, another company will clear me. All the other doctors that I've seen have cleared me, besides your doctor." So he was debating on going somewhere else if he didn't get cleared through WWE. So clearly, if Joe would have left, he probably, from what I've heard, it's the same situation where his outside doctors are clearing him, but the internal doctors are not. So he would have left and been straight to the ring again. So I think they have a little bit of faith that he's going to be back in the ring sooner than later, and just kind of put him in this spot until that day comes up.
Yeah. So I'd like to see him in the ring again. I wanted to see him on the main roster, but if NXT, I mean, good, because seeing him in the ring is good.
And we could eventually get Finn versus Joe again,
Yeah.
back in an NXT ring.
And next ups we had Breezango versus Imperium. And this one, it was an okay match,
Mhm.
and it has a good story going, but they did so much of it during like the commercial break, picture in picture, and I usually fast forward picture in picture. I just not a fan of it because you got no sound and it's like the smaller little thing. But Breezango wins with a schoolboy roll up there at the end, and they got the win. So they Imperium attack Breezango because it made him look bad. But not a bad match, but too much of the picture in picture.
No, I completely agree with that. That kind of killed it a little bit for me because I feel like the match was fairly decent. It wasn't a bad match, but yes, the picture in picture kind of it always throws it off because you don't hear anything. You're just kind of watching a small picture too. It's not even like it's half the screen. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily like that too much, but I understand they kind of have to have their commercial breaks, and this gives them more action to actually just kind of fight through it. Um, so I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, I think it diminished it a little bit.
Next up, we had the NXT Cruiserweight Open Challenge. It was Kushida,
But
the
the segment
champion.
before,
What was the segment before
Adam
that?
Cole and Kyle O'Reilly backstage.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just going off the Bleacher Report. I didn't write the notes down for this one.
Got you.
But yeah, they were in the back brawling, and Joe came out and separated them, and then Adam Cole provoked him, so he got to lay his hands on him, and he put him in the, forget what he calls it,
Cochina clutch.
yeah, Cochina clutch, and put him out, knocked him out,
Put him
and
to sleep.
they're gonna face each other in a wrestling match this time instead of unsanctioned,
Yep.
and they were also supposed to. Regal told them to each pick an opponent for next week, and Joe was a great line. Told him to tell Adam Cole that when he wakes up.
Yeah, I I love that part. He said, and you guys tell him when he wakes his ass up.
Yeah.
Ty said, why is Imperium in the U.S. while Walter's in the U.K.? Travel.
Walter was in the U.S. once
He
recently, though.
was. I mean, travel bans aren't a thing anymore, so they can travel freely. Could you beat up Joe? Absolutely not. Yeah, so then Joe choking out Adam Cole, Bebe, or
Yeah,
DMD.
that was great, and that'll be a good match. I mean, the first one was good, but an
Hmm.
actual wrestling match instead of an unsanctioned match will be.
Yeah, and both of them can go, and they are calling this, in quotes, straight up wrestling match. That's the stipulation.
Yeah. Next, okay, back to the Cruiserweight Open Challenge. We had
Hmm.
Kushida versus Trey Baxter, and I knew nothing about this guy, but the match was really good, and you gotta expect that from Kushida because Kushida's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And Kushida, of course, gets the win. He's not gonna drop the belt on just regular NXT anytime soon, I don't think. Uh,
Yeah, and
Overall, good match.
Baxter is from 205 Live. He's one of those. I kind of talked about it. I think it was last week. It might have been the week before. I said 205 Live does have really good matches, but that's like their development. It's a bunch of guys that you have no idea who they are, and then they just pop up random places instead of
Yeah,
having Kushida on 205 Live with the cruiserweight title.
yeah. Like you said before, Pac, Enzo, it was worth watching, and I did
Hmm.
watch it. Not like every week, but because I really liked Enzo, and I
Yeah,
love Pac is amazing.
yeah, and they had Cedric Alexander, and
Yeah,
they had plenty of really really good talent back then. That was prime time.
Ty said Adam Cole DMD. Batman says Joe. So glad Joe is still in WWE. I'm glad he's still around still. And
Hmm.
then Thunderbird said he wanted to see Joe versus Miro, which would be an excellent match, but
Yeah,
this role fits him better. And
yeah, and I think Joe would have ended up back in Impact anyway if he would have left. He has deep ties to Impact, as we all know. That's where he came from, TNA. So that's just because of the ties. I didn't see him going to AEW, in my head at least.
Ty said
205
Ty.
Live, yeah,
Go
205
ahead.
Live doesn't get much attention partly because they're fighting for nothing, no title. Yeah, and that's a problem now that they put the cruiserweight title on NXT. Um, Now you have 205 doing nothing. 205 Live is going to get shut down here shortly, and it's just going to be main event.
Next, there's a little backstage segment with Frankie Monet, and she's gonna an encore premiere. So a second premiere, uh, which makes no sense. But she also tried to convince Aaliyah and Jesse Kamea to join, leave Robert Stone brand.
Hmm.
And then in the ring, we had Ted DiBiase and LA Knight, giving him, putting him over as the $1 million champion. And LA Knight just goes on and on about how Ted DiBiase was his hero growing up, and just gushing over him, and you knew what was coming. We
Hmm.
all saw it coming. He stomped the $1 million man
Yeah.
repeatedly, kept going on, and I mean, great, cool for the $1 million man for doing that because he ain't no spring chicken.
Nah,
I know it
he's an
wasn't
older guy.
much, but yeah. Then Cameron Grimes comes out there to make the save, and yeah, I like this. I mean, that's something the $1 million man would have done is just turn on the person that just gave him
Yeah.
like that. So
And from what I hear, and it could be complete fabrication, I hear they're actually trying to set up a Ted DiBiase Jr. return as well. So that would be pretty cool.
yeah,
I mean, he was the
uh,
last person to hold the $1 million championship, so who knows?
and the crowd was really there for Grimes. So
Hmm.
I like this segment. Another good one between them. Uh, Next up, we had Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart trying to get their hands on Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, but
Hmm.
Joe and Regal backstage and
Doing their thing.
stopping them. Then we have Casey Catanzaro. I probably butchered that name, but Caden Carter versus Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. It was a pretty good match, and I mean it's NXT, so you can't be surprised by that. And then I was kind of
Thunderbird said
surprised,
in wrestling there are no faces anymore, just like NAW.
that Gonzalez and Kai got the win. I mean, I know Gonzalez is the champion. You want to make her
Yeah,
look strong, but you could have had the other
Dakota.
Catanzaro and Carter give the pin to Kai.
Yeah, and it was
But
Dakota Kai that ended up getting the final hit in.
yeah, do we think that Kai is going to turn on Gonzalez?
I
Jealousy
think
over
of
the title?
I think eventually. Um, I mean, Dakota Kai's always been a really good solo act. She was a really good
Yeah, I think.
solo act in the Mae Young Classic, and when she first debuted, Team Kick and everything with Casey Catanzaro. Um, so I mean, yeah, I could see it happening, but That's definitely pushing Gonzalez way face and keeping Kai way heel.
I think right now she's supposed to be just helping Gonzalez because she's still a little. I know she's been there over a year, but she's still a little new. Seems like she's improving a lot, but I
Yeah,
think Dakota Kai's just supposed to be helping her do that.
yeah, I agree with that. Bat said, "Oi, I'm a face." You are not a face, sir. You're a wolf pack. Did you forget about that? That is a heel faction.
Next up, we had Io Shirai announcing that she wanted to face someone next, and before she could say who she wanted, Candice LeRae interrupted. And they're just going on because they've had a long-standing feud.
Mm-hmm.
And then Indy Hartwell attacked Shirai from behind, and they were trying to just beat her up, but Zoe Stark came out to help Io out, and they cleared the ring, and so that looks like they'll be the next feud. Two teams, Zoe Stark and Io versus The Way. I mean, Io and Candice LeRae have had a great
Yeah.
uh, feud, so with the teams going, they should pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Smiles is a face. Of course I am Mr. DNA. That doesn't make you a face. Not even a little bit.
And then we come to the main event. The Tornado Tag, Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher versus the Grizzled Young Vets. And as you can expect, just a knockdown brawl
Mm-hmm.
the whole time.
This was a great match.
Yeah, really was. And then I didn't know who was gonna win, and the whole time you thought, well, that could end it. That could end it because there was this air raid crash through stuff and on the table. Just there's a lot. If you haven't watched this match,
This is pay-per-view
if you're gonna
quality.
only watch, yeah, this is the one you want to watch for the week.
Yeah, this is pay-per-view quality. As far as tag team matches go, yeah, I say that AEW does the best tag team wrestling in the world, arguably. But this was up there. This was a great match.
Yeah, I mean NXT is always just right up there too. It's not maybe a little bit low because they don't have as many teams.
I think that's the problem.
But they're not supposed to be the full big company, so that's
Yeah.
probably why. Yeah, but their tag team is really good too. And then the ending, fairy tale ending from Ciampa onto I never remember their names.
The Grizzled Young Vets.
Yeah, I can't remember which one took. It wasn't Drake. It was the other one that took the pin. Anyway, they both put him in Ciampa had him in an armbar and Timmy had him in a ankle lock. And so they were both making him submit, and he tapped out pretty quick.
Yeah,
So
I
like
enjoyed
that
the
ending.
finish. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Ty said Oni Larkin. That's it.
no,
Thanks,
Zach
Ty.
Gibson.
Oh,
Oni Lorcan is
well,
yeah, he's in a tag team with the guy from England. Can't remember his name, but yeah, they were tag team champions before. Grizzled Young Veterans is James Drake and Zach Gibson. Zach Gibson won the second NXT UK tournament.
yeah, but this could have been a pay-per-view match easily.
Absolutely.
And they could have main evented a pay-per-view with that. And now we get MSK versus Ciampa and Thatcher.
Which that should be a match, and I could honestly see MSK losing the titles there. It's a short reign, but I could see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either because I like Ciampa a lot. He's probably my favorite in NXT.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ciampa much more when he was that, like, heel that you actually hated, when he had no music and he was just the Gargano feud, beginning of the Gargano feud, Ciampa. I mean, I still like him, but his title reign made him so likable.
Yeah, that was a great feud though.
It was.
Maybe one of the best. ever in
I think
NXT.
it was one of the best in WWE history. I think it's at least top
Yeah,
five as far as feuds go. I mean, going from both of you really not having a spot in NXT to the Cruiserweight Classic, both of you having to fight each other while being a tag team, not not uh not breaking up there, eventually winning the titles as probably the biggest face team that's ever seen NXT. And then just the heel turn out of nowhere after a loss to AOP.
and then them switching it up later on, like Ciampa was the face and Gargano being the heel. And
Yep.
all
Yeah,
those matches were just really good.
yeah, kind of going back together at one point when Ciampa was NXT champion and Gargano was North American champion, both his heels. Yeah, that was good. That was good. I thoroughly enjoyed Gargano and Ciampa's whole story, every part of it.
But yeah, that was NXT for the week, and as usual, it was the best part of WWE, and
I would argue that
really
this
up
was
there
the
for the
show of the
week.
week. Yeah, I'd argue
Yeah,
that this was show of the week. Usually I go with AEW. Um, I mean, it varies. I think AEW gets it a little bit more often than NXT. But yeah, this
it's
was
usually
NXT.
close.
Yeah, this was NXT for sure this week. I mean, AEW wasn't bad, and we'll talk about it after we talk about SmackDown. But yeah, NXT was probably the best show of the week, including Hell in a Cell. But yeah, on to SmackDown.
And we have SmackDown, and Rey Mysterio kicks off the show, coming out saying he doesn't want to wait. He just pissed off and wants revenge because of what Roman throwing his son, just eating him out of the ring last week. Just a pissed off dad.
Mm-hmm.
And Reigns comes out and basically tells him it's not going to do it now. We'll do it when he's ready. Which, the main event. Because this was the Hell in a Cell main event, and then they moved it here,
Yeah.
which doesn't make sense to me at all. Because this was the match people cared about, and this is the one you should have had.
Yeah, and I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper into that when we talk about Hell in a Cell, because I have some feelings about that. But I'll wait.
But that was a good opener, because this is the best story they have, so of course. Then we have Big E and Kevin Owens versus Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. Uh, okay match. I mean, it's Commander Aziz in-ring debut, and I don't think anybody really cared that much.
No.
He's a big dude, but I don't
That's
think
it.
he's great yet.
No.
That's and then of course he had Sami Zayn on commentary and continuing his whole everybody's out to get him, and then he interfered by distracting Owens, which Owens got back in the ring and got Nigerian nail right to the throat.
Yep.
And so of course Aziz and Cruz picked up the win, like you knew they were going to.
Yep.
And then he got another nail to the throat afterward, I believe.
Yep, he did. He got two.
And then he went to the back and said he wants Sami Zayn for like the 50th time.
And he wanted that night, but he was granted it
right.
at Hell in a Cell.
He couldn't breathe because he was really selling the Nigerian nail.
Sold it well.
Yeah, Kevin Owens is great.
Yes, Ty, he got nailed in the throat.
I love you, Ty. But yeah, so that was like the last day or last minute Hell in a Cell. Like, let's add a couple matches. They only had 4 matches going into this, so you knew they had to add
Yeah.
some.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't put up the
poll
prediction
until...
card. But it's like, I know they're gonna add more. I don't want to just put it up for 4.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, this was a decent match. Not the best you're gonna see, but it's better than most stuff on Raw. It had at least a story.
Yeah, and no, I mean this. At least it had a story, and this gave us you know that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to have a good match regardless. So if you
Yeah,
only have 4 matches for your pay per view, hell, just throw Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on it, and they'll knock it out of the water 98% of the time.
and the next match is the battle for the crown in
Which
the
I thought would
who.
have been on the Hell in a Cell card,
Yeah,
because
would have
this
made
this
sense.
this feud's been going on for a month now, so that would have made complete sense for the. If you're not going to have, see, my problem is that they're not even putting the IC title or the US title on pay per views anymore. At least it doesn't feel like it to me. Um, as well as the tags, they're really not doing much with any of the mid card titles, as you would call them. They're kind of only working with their 2 main champs and their 2 female champs, which is rough.
And as we said last week, why the hell are they doing this for the
I
crown?
have no fucking clue.
Why
Why
not
not
just put
just
on?
another King of the Ring?
Yeah, even if you don't do it as a pay-per-view, they've done it just on Raw and SmackDown before. Just have good matches
Yeah.
and not fight over the crown that literally Corbin won and nobody cared about.
I
I
mean,
mean, he was
to be
doing good
fair,
as
I did enjoy the beginning of the King Corbin thing. I enjoyed what he did after he won, but what I really want to see is a King of the Ring pay per view again, where they do the entire tournament in one night.
yeah,
That's
they
what
were
I
always
want to
good.
see. They were great, and it would be a nice throwback to do that once again, in my opinion, at least.
Is the U.S. champ is Apollo Crews, isn't it? Or is he Intercontinental?
He's
I know it's good.
Intercontinental. U.S. champ is Sheamus, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's got that whole storyline with Ricochet and Humberto Carrillo.
Yeah.
Which,
See, but that's the problem. We had to think about it. Us having to think about it, showing that those titles are not being used properly. I mean, even Apollo Cruz's title's not being used properly. He's in a fucking tag team match every week.
but this is the fifth match between these two in 6 weeks,
Yep.
and none of them were great. But we know Nakamura can be excellent in the ring. So
And Corbin's had good matches as well. So I don't want to fault Corbin on this. I just think they're not given enough time.
yeah,
And then the way
I
they're
don't.
ending these matches are always with Rick Boogs in it.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
hate Corbin. I just don't think he's the most interesting. But
yeah.
like you said, when he got the crown and he was looking better,
hmm
and but I think they've just buried him too much. The
I
whole
will
thing
say,
was Cena
in
are causing him to lose the briefcase.
yeah, I will say in 2017, 2018, Baron Corbin was arguably my favorite wrestler as the Lone Wolf. I absolutely love that gimmick. I loved his attitude. He was that. He wasn't a coward heel, but he was a complainer all the time, which I just loved his character work and his look and everything like that. But then they turned him into that businessman, the Constable Corbin is what they made him into, and that kind of derailed him from everything. And that was directly after losing Money in the Bank. So, yeah.
And next up, we had women's champ Bianca Belair come to the ring and cut a promo on Bailey before their match on Hell in a Cell. And then of course
Thunderbird
Bailey
said
comes out.
Thunderbird said that WWE has fell in love with the roll-ups and alternate methods of ending matches. Yeah, they're not doing a lot of clean endings. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, it was a decent promo. I mean, he got the point across. They're gonna have a fight. They're gonna put on a hell of a match because I like both of them. They both can go. Bailey and they had a good chemistry together. And so it makes you interested in the match. That's did his job. Nothing like too special, but makes you want to watch it.
Yeah.
And then we have backstage. Jimmy approaches Roman and said he doesn't agree with Roman, but they are blood, so he's gonna be with which I did not see this coming because
I
I
didn't see
thought
it
they were
coming
definitely
either.
going to have a fight.
Yep.
But nobody's heard from Jay since last week, not answering calls. And then Roman tells him, "I don't need you, I need Jay." And he goes, "Go find your brother." And that's basically Jimmy goes off to find Jay. Nobody knows where he is.
Yeah. And I guess we'll figure that out this week, hopefully.
And we had the Alpha Academy against. It's supposed to be the Street Profits, but uh,
Montez Ford's hurt.
Montez Ford was beat down last week by Otis, so it's just going to be Angelo Dawkins. But this match never even got started. They just jumped him and beat him down, and Otis is getting some heat on him, I'd say. So this is actually good for those two, because uh, everybody likes the Street Profits. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people like the Street Profits. They're really good.
I
I
did
would.
like how clean that clothesline German suplex looked. That looked nasty.
And we're probably gonna get this match in a few weeks of the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy once
Hmm.
Montez Ford comes back and Dawkins. I actually look forward to it, which is rare for a tag team match on WWE main card.
Yeah, I'd like to see what Otis can do now that he has a completely new look. Let's see if his moveset changes up. I'm sure with the heel gimmick, he's not going to be doing the caterpillar or anything like
No,
that. I think it's going to be um, a more just smash mouth kind of wrestler.
and kind of think that Alpha Academy will take that, or at least the first match, but I
Hmm.
don't want them to because, like I said, I like the Street Profits, and I think they should be going in the tag title hunt at least, if not the champs. I mean, I think Jimmy and Jay are going to be the next. They're going to take the one titles off Mysterio's,
Yeah.
and then we have the main event that should have been pay-per-view. Uh, Hell in a Cell. Roman Reigns versus Rey Mysterio, and this match was really good. Just
Way better than I
Rey,
thought it was
just
going to be.
yeah. 'Cause I'm not the biggest fan of Rey. I don't hate him, but I know he can go. It's just there's other guys that have been better and that always overshadow him.
Hmm.
But I thought it was just going to be a beat down on Rey the whole time, and he took it to Reigns and hit him with everything he could, kendo sticks and wait, yeah, just Rey looked really good, and then finally Roman caught him
Hmm.
and just beat him into the cage several times, and then he did what he did to Dominic and yeeted him off, but he went into the cage, and that was just like,
Nasty.
yeah, just like that man's dead. He's gonna be dead by the end of this because he was just not holding back, just swinging him into the cage. And
Ty said he thinks he misunderstood something. But continue until he says what he misunderstood.
yeah, and it comes no surprise. Roman gets the win. He makes him tap out with the choke submission, and then
Have
Happy Father Days to
have
Ray.
they named that yet? Have they named that besides calling it the guillotine joke? I mean, that's technically what the name is, but have
Not that
they
I
named it
can
yet?
remember. I don't think so.
They probably should.
And then
WWE
afterward,
says Hell in a Cell was the last show inside Thunderdome, so weekly shows will be fans from here on out.
I
No.
think they meant last pay per
Last pay per
view.
view. Money in the Bank is the next pay per view that will have fans. It was the last pay per view. But yeah, this was a great match. And I did enjoy the Happy Father's Day line while he was choking him out.
Yeah. Uh, and then afterwards, Jay comes in there and he's standing with
Paul.
Roman, and Paul is there, and then Reigns grabs him again and puts him back in the choke. And he's tapping out, but I mean the match is over, so Roman's just holding it, and then Jimmy does nothing. Just backs off and just lets him do it instead of trying to stop him. So maybe he really is with him. But
It's interesting.
we're gonna,
It might be a work. We'll see. But yeah,
this is a really good match, and
SmackDown overall was good. I enjoyed
yeah,
SmackDown this week. Um, but yeah, moving on to AEW, which again is continuing on a 10 o'clock time frame until the end of the NBA playoffs, which
it's
is
killing
killing the
their
ratings, killing it. And it's been a month now. Today is day 36 of the NBA playoffs. So, yeah, it's been a while. I mean, right now we're on the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. So we only have maximum another 14 games left. So that's going to be realistically, let's say, another 2.5, maybe 3 weeks, which is still a long time. That you're going to have to stay at a 10 o'clock time frame until you get back to. And I mean, they are keeping the 1 hour on Friday nights after they go back, but yeah, it's hurting them right now. They just went from 1 million viewers a week down to like 60 or 600,000.
Yeah, he said a maximum time because it's two. There's two series, best of 7. I mean, it might most likely won't go 14 games.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so yeah, it's 2 series, and the series are best of 7s. So yeah, it's going to be at least another 14 games, which is probably they do. The NBA Finals is either every other day, and then sometimes they skip 2 days. So it is what it is. 60K would be ridiculously low. That's Impact numbers right there. um,
hopefully, when they go to TBS, that this doesn't happen next year.
no,
I don't know if TBS shows basketball.
TBS does have basketball, but I don't think they have playoff basketball. So that's good. They just have regular basketball. But yeah, AEW started out with a cage fight. They had a legitimate cage that looked like a UFC cage. And yeah, it was a cage fight between Jake Hager and Wardlow. Somewhat looked like a shoot fight, but it also had some sloppy parts to it where you could tell it was obviously rehearsed. But yeah, it wasn't much wrestling in this match as it was more of like a fight and a little bit of jiu-jitsu. There was a Uranagi at one point, but that's the only wrestling move you got in this entire match. And it wasn't that long, realistically. Jake Hager did ended up picking up the win because he is a mixed martial artist. He is an undefeated mixed martial artist on top of that, who still does fight. So it makes sense that he would pick up the win here because he is a professional fighter. And then the Pinnacle attacked after the match. MJF used his Salt of the Earth on Jericho until Dean Malenko interrupted, and then Dean Malenko got dropped by MJF before Sammy Guevara came out and made the save. So it looks like we're definitely going to have MJF versus Sammy Guevara. So I think that'll be a very good match.
Yeah, both those guys are really good. So yeah, I respect AEW for trying to do something different, but if we wanted MMA, we would watch MMA.
Yeah.
And I mean, some people obviously watch both, but I
think
MMA.
I think this was kind of a reach. It was kind of a reach at trying to pull in the MMA community as well. Because I mean, yes, like you said, you do have some fans of both, but a lot of MMA fans aren't necessarily wrestling fans. So trying to bridge the gap, if you're just changing the channels and you see a cage fight, most people are stopping, even if they're MMA fan, they're going to stop on that channel just to see what it is, at least for a little bit, which would boost up the ratings. So if I'm not mistaken, I did hear it worked. They did have pretty high ratings for this match, and then it went down. it went down after. Um, Once people realized it was wrestling and not actual MMA.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but let's not do it like too often.
MJF and Sammy have some heat on Twitter too. Yeah, they have some big heat because MJF made a comment about Sammy's past with Sasha Banks. I'm not going to say what he said on here because we would be in trouble. Um, but yeah, they're friends now. They've squashed it as far as Sammy and Sasha Banks, and they're friends. But yeah, MJF bringing up his past, and then Sammy saying that he's a scumbag because, well, his actual tweet said that, I wish I had it up in front of me right now, but it said that it's okay to talk, it's okay to cut a promo, but once you get personal about the darkest time in my life, then you've gone too far. And then he said, most people think that you're a great working heel, but in all reality, you're a real life asshole. Uh, so I don't know if that tweet was a work or if he actually meant MJF's a real life asshole, because I have heard stories that MJF is not a liked man in real life. So it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, moving on, we had a handicap match. We had Darby Allin versus the newly named Men of the Year, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Um, yeah, I mean, this was pretty obvious what was going to happen here. Um, that Page and Scorpio Sky were going to pick up this win in a fairly brutal manner. But it was a good match. It wasn't a bad match at all. Um, yeah, Darby Allin, he got plenty of offense off. He delivered a Scorpion Death Drop, but eventually, yeah, he didn't manage to pick up the win.
Yeah. Decent match. I mean, you knew he wasn't gonna win against two. I mean, he could have pulled it off, but he
Yeah,
most likely.
maybe against
But
two lesser guys, but yeah, not against not especially against Scorpio's guy who has shined a little bit in singles light since AEW came about. And then Ethan Page, everybody, well, most people from the wrestling community know Ethan Page is a very, very good wrestler. Let's see. Next up, we had Orange Cassidy versus Cesar Bononi, who I absolutely hate because he is a god awful wrestler. And he showed it again in this match. It really wasn't that great of a match. Um, Orange Cassidy ended up picking up the win after hitting 3 orange punches. It made Cesar Bononi look strong, but yeah, it was just. I just don't think he's a good wrestler. He wasn't in NXT either, so it's nothing. It's just him.
his faction is kind of funny though. The Wingmen. Not like
Yeah, I
something you're
mean,
gonna be main event at all, but you know, they're funny for the mid card, and they're gonna take a lot of losses.
yeah, I mean, you're looking at Peter Avalon, who literally won. It was probably about 6 months ago. He had a feud, um, and was declared the biggest loser on AEW. And then Ryan Nemeth, as everybody knows, that is Dolph Ziggler's brother. But he's also a pretty big jobber because he can sell like his brother. And then JD Drake, who he debuted a couple weeks ago, but he's really not that great either. Uh, so, I mean, yeah, this is going to be a jobber faction. Complete jobber faction. Which I think maybe they need, you know? I don't
Yeah,
think we've ever seen it. Have we ever seen a jobber faction before?
Job Squad.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking Spirit Squad in my head, and then I was like, nah, they won tag team titles. So they really weren't. Yeah, I don't know. But next up, we had the in-ring debut of Arn Anderson's son, Brock Anderson. He was in a tag team match with Cody Rhodes against QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. Solo? I always butcher his name. Um, but yeah, you can definitely tell he's extremely green. but he definitely shows a lot of upside as well. Um, he takes a lot of the moveset from his father, which that's good because Arn Anderson is a legend. Um, you can
He looks just
tell,
like his father too.
yeah, you can tell a lot of similarities. Uh, number one being the way he looks. He looks identical to his father. Back when Arn Anderson was a wrestler. Um, but yeah, a lot of his movements were very Arn Anderson like. Uh, Even a spine buster is uh, very Arn Anderson like. So it is good to see him in the ring. And he wasn't the worst wrestler in this match. So that's always good too. But like I said, you could tell he's green. He's probably going to be in tag team matches for a little bit, and on Dark until he really gets his feet under him. But yeah, he has a strong upside.
Yep.
Arn Anderson esque. Yes, he is Arn Anderson esque because he is his twin of a son. Um, Next up, we had Julia Hart versus Penelope Ford, which I'm gonna be honest, I took a poop during this match. I did it. I took a poop during this match because I didn't care one bit. Um, but yeah, did you have anything to say about this? Because I didn't watch this match because I pooped.
It was a match. I mean, it's not like the worst women's match of the week, probably.
No, but yeah, I didn't care about this. But yeah. After the match, though, Miro came out and he cited the unfairness of the numbers game against Penelope Ford. Then he flattened Griff Garrison. Um, and then Brian Pillman Jr. Attacked him. So that was nice, and we're going to get Brian Pillman Jr. Versus Miro. I believe that's this week. Correct?
It should be a good match.
I think so. I mean, I like Brian Pillman Jr. a lot more now because I watched his father's Dark Side of the Ring this week. It's a two-parter, so if you haven't seen it, I highly suggest it. But it's very good, and it makes you really like Brian Pillman Jr. as well. So yeah, I'm now slightly a fan of Brian Pillman Jr. I liked his father though, so I guess that's something. But yeah, to finish off the show, we had a 6-man tag team match. We had Penta El Zero Miedo and Eddie Kingston and Frankie Kazarian. So kind of a weird thrown together tag team here. Against Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers. So Nick Jackson was sitting out of this match. But this was a good match. It was kind of hectic, but you kind of expect that from even regular tag team matches in AEW. Ty said poop break. Yes. But yeah, this was a very good match, and Nick Jackson did interject himself towards the end of the match, spraying Penta in the face, which allowed Carl Anderson to pick up the win with the super cutter.
Yeah, it was good, but I think it would have made more sense to have Frankie Kazarian take the win here. I mean, he's the elite hunter. Like, it could have been like
That is true.
like a miscue from the Good Brothers and had one of them get pinned, or with the spray, he could have Nick could have accidentally sprayed one of them.
Yeah.
But
And I don't know. I could see that, but also I feel like they just had this miscommunication of the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers like last month before the Young Bucks decided they were going to go all in with the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. So just reverting back to that, I feel like is just backtracking just a little bit.
yeah, I mean that was just one. They could have had like Pac come out here and like behind the ref's back, cause the lose. Cause them to lose, or
Yeah.
cause Penta and them to get the win.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, and I would have liked to see Frankie Kazarian really take his moniker and actually, I mean, I would have liked him If he was going to pin anybody, I'd want it to be Matt Jackson because that's technically the elite. So that would have been nice little bragging rights for him with that nickname as well. But this was a good match overall.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying it was a bad match. I just think the
Yeah,
outcome would have been made more sense that way,
yeah,
just to give
absolutely.
him like more credibility as the elite hunter. Because really, he's attacked them a few times, but
hmm
that's all he's done.
I did forget to mention a backstage segment where we saw Jungle Boy backstage. He was in a brief interview until Kenny Omega, Don Callis, and Michael Nakazawa drive up in a golf cart. Um, and Kenny Omega wants to fight Jungle Boy for embarrassing him last week. Um, so he's taking off his jacket and he's telling Jungle Boy that he looks like he's never been in a fight in his entire life, and that his father got him to where he was at this point, which was a little bit of a cheap shot, but I guess all's fair here if Jungle Boy says that's all right. Um, but yeah, he tells Jungle Boy to hit him. Uh, Before Jungle Boy can hit him, Jungle Boy does take off his jacket and gets ready to hit Kenny Omega. The one free shot that Kenny Omega's given him before he gets hit in the back with the title by Michael Nakazawa. Um, he ends up fighting off Michael Nakazawa and Kenny Omega, but Kenny Omega ends up escaping with Don Callis on the golf cart. But I thought that was a nice little spot to get us ready for their world title match that comes up this week.
Yeah, they got a really big card this week. It's a pay-per-view card on the.
It is. It is. Um, did he spray Penta in the face with the dripstick? No, it was not the dripstick. That is only for one person's hands. But yeah, that was your week in wrestling. Besides the pay per view, the main event of what we are talking about today. Is it the main event though? Is it really? Um, yeah, Hell in a Cell. Uh, this started out like shit. I didn't necessarily see it myself, but I know a lot of people had problems with Peacock. A lot of people had problems getting onto Peacock for a while, and it really didn't get fixed until about 25 minutes left before the pay per view.
Uh,
Um,
for me, I started it early. Like I just clicked start before the pre-show had started, and
gotcha.
it just said starting soon, and then it did that 10 minutes. Like I wasn't really paying attention because it was supposed to be the pre-show, and I came back in the room and I was like,
The pre-show
why the
wasn't
hell
on.
hasn't it started? And then but I refreshed and it was fine for me. So
Yeah,
I did see a lot of complaints though.
from what I'm reading right now, it said that Peacock was down and it took over 15 minutes to load. Um, yeah, that's rough. That's rough. But these are the problems you're gonna have when you switch over to a different broadcasting system. They had most of the kinks down. They had them every now and then with WWE Network, but they had most of them down, and they could fix them pretty quick. But yeah, I mean, if you're working with a much bigger streaming service like Peacock or Netflix or Hulu, it's gonna take a little bit more time to get figured out because they got a lot of other stuff they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so we will go. Hold on one second. All right, so we started out with. Oh, do you wanna talk about the winners, or do you just want to leave that to the post that you made? I know most people probably already saw it.
Uh, we'll do that at the end. I can just go over them real quick because I didn't have to pull up the information. Let's go ahead
Okay.
and start talking about this.
All right, so we started out with Mandy Rose versus Natalia. This was a pre-show match, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it
Um,
was.
but it was a decent pre-show match. But the only thing that I didn't like is Natty picked up the win here. It was not for the tag team titles or anything like that. It was just kind of bragging rights. They showed a little clip of Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke going. It looked like the PC to kind of make fun of Natty and Tamina and say that they. Natty and Tamina told the other two that they only got there because of their looks and not their talent. And Mandy Rose responded with, they got there because of their last name, not their talent. Which that was pretty clever.
That was a great line.
It was. But yeah, they it was made official that Natty and Mandy Rose would have a match at Hell in a Cell. It was the pre-show. It was a decent match. But Natty was sloppy in that match. She was real sloppy in that match. Mandy Rose looked very good in that match, but
Yeah, she's improved a lot.
did you
Before
notice
she
how
was-
sloppy Natty looked though?
Yeah, but she probably didn't care. She's like pre-show. I don't give a shit. Just
Yeah.
my paycheck. But yeah, Mandy's improved a lot because she was just there for her looks.
I agree with that
Start.
to a point, but she has a nasty knee. That V, I want to call it a V trigger because it looks exactly like the V trigger, but it's always looked good. Ty said the match does nothing to further their feud. It doesn't. It doesn't further their feud at all. If Mandy would have won, it would have made sense because then you would have Mandy and Dana Brooke fighting for the titles. But alas, you have Mandy Rose tapping out to the sharpshooter. But yeah. Next up, we had the first match of the actual pay-per-view, the SmackDown Women's Championship, Bianca Belair versus Bayley inside of Hell in a Cell. Which this match was good. I heavily enjoyed this match. There was a lot of big spots in this match, a lot of kendo stick usage.
They went back to the candlestick after it failed last time.
Yeah, last year.
Against Raja.
Yeah, last year it did fail because she tried to only use. It was only one kendo stick last time, right? But this time she taped two kendo sticks together to actually do the spot that she tried to do last year. So that was a pretty cool throwback to if you watched last year, of course. But yeah, I heavily enjoyed the spot where Bayley came into the ring with a steel chair, and Bianca Belair was like, "Well, I don't have a weapon," and she used her hair as her weapon. I thought that was pretty clever as well. But yeah, the ending sequence looked vicious.
Oh yeah, the KOD on the chair.
On the ladder that was
ladder,
open.
ladder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was nasty. Yeah, me and I of course watched this pay-per-view with Ty as I normally do pay-per-views nowadays. We've kind of made it a tradition. Yeah, right when she landed the kiss of death on the open ladder, we were both like, "Oh, damn." Like, that looked bad. But yeah, she ended up picking up the win. I was heavily impressed that Bayley wasn't grimacing or anything while she was getting pinned. She was just laying there motionless, selling it like a champ. Really, really didn't show that she was like severely in pain. Like, she had to have been in some pain after that move.
That was a good opener.
It was.
I mean,
It was
but you knew this match was going to be good because they're both really good.
absolutely. Next up, we had Cesaro versus Seth Rollins in another good match. There's no question. Everybody knows that Seth Rollins is my favorite wrestler in WWE. So I love everything that Seth Rollins does. This match I felt was very, very good. Of course, Cesaro can go. They did a lot of spots in this a lot of spots in this feud that they haven't necessarily done in their feud. I think I said in this feud twice. But in this match, they did a lot of spots that they haven't done in this feud. So I heavily enjoyed everything they did. And this is the one time I kind of liked the roll-up here. Because this was match number 3 of them, I believe. And Cesaro was up 2-0. So you had to have Seth Rollins win at this point. If you didn't, you're just burying Rollins even further. So it was nice to see Rollins picking up the win, which is probably going to further this feud. Maybe to Hell in a Cell, or maybe to Money in the Bank, which is next. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't. I see what you say about the roll up. If they didn't do it so much that it wouldn't, people wouldn't complain about
Yeah.
like this one. If he only did it like once in a while, like every week, multiple times.
Well, I mean, let's put it for um, let's put it into perspective here for a second. This card had 6 matches. Um, yeah, two of them ended in roll-ups. So that's 1/3 of your pay-per-view matches were roll-ups. That just puts it into perspective a little bit of how much WWE is overusing roll-ups. That's bad. That's real bad. Um, but yeah, next up we had Alexa Bliss versus Shayna Baszler. I didn't really like this match. I did like their little bit of engagement that they had at certain points. I liked that Bliss was laughing at pain the entire match. I thought that was a nice touch. Um, and then locking eyes with Nia Jax, that just made me a little uncomfortable. Putting Nia Jax in the trance and making her slap Reginald. It was funny, but I don't know if I necessarily like the whole um, trance stuff. I mean,
I
it's
think
unique.
Baszler was the wrong person to do this to because she is so dangerous actually
Yeah.
that it just made her look really bad because Bliss was no selling everything. I mean, it's like the Fiend, but
Yeah, she was just laughing
it
at
just
everything.
it just makes Baszler look really bad.
Yeah.
You could have put anybody else in this match and it wouldn't have been so bad.
No,
I
I
mean,
completely agree.
I,
I mean,
because
Shayna Baszler, at least it makes her. I mean, it's somebody that's good enough that you would believe that she could beat Alexa Bliss pretty easily. So
I,
it's not like you throw in Dana Brooke in there just to get fed to the wolves,
yeah, I think Baszler could have beat almost any woman on the roster except for her.
especially after Elimination Chamber.
But yeah, they should have just thrown somebody else in there. You
Yeah.
know, somebody you don't really give a shit about right now. I mean, there's so many of them. They don't care about the women most for most part.
Yeah.
If it ain't got a flair or in the last name,
That's a good perspective, Ty, because that's kind of how I'm thinking about it, but I'm also going back and forth. Ty said, "Does it make it seem like Shayna's weak, or does it make it look like Alexa is strong?" And he said he thinks it makes Alexa look strong, and not Shayna look weak. I think that only because of Shayna's reputation of being such a badass, that it makes Alexa look extremely strong, but it also does diminish Shayna Baszler just a little bit.
I just
It's a
think
fine
Baszler
mix.
deserves to be in the title hunt at least.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. She was great in NXT as the champion, and I think she's long overdue for the title. But next up, we had Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Nope, not getting me. Not getting me. Not this time. Haha. Uh, yeah, next up we had Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. We said earlier we thought this was going to be a really good match because they can really go, both of them. Um, I said this, if you guys ever peeped in Discord, nobody really talked much during this pay per view. But if you guys peeped in there, I did say that I thought that Kevin Owens was legitimately hurt. Um, because he was on the outside, and Sami Zayn did hit a suicide dive, and Kevin Owens, he hit the ground, but he popped up real quick like he wasn't even hit, just clenching at his wrist forearm area. Um, and then at first, I kind of was like, okay, that's not normal that he would pop up like that, so maybe something's wrong. But maybe this is a point where they're going to start selling that. Thank you for the 1 bit. Um, so I figured that maybe Sami Zayn would start really going after it. And before I forget to mention, Kevin Owens was kind of coughing hard, really selling the Nigerian nails um, from literally 2 nights before this. But this really wasn't a big deal for me. Thank you, iRob, for the 100 bits. Hip hip hooray. Um, I completely ignored his throat injury as soon as the arm happened because that was a clear cut thing to me. Like, okay, I know for a fact that throat things will work. The wrist, this could be real. Um, but Sami Zayn, in the entirety of the match, this happened early in the match. For the rest of the match, Sami Zayn did not touch that arm. Not once did he grab that arm. Kevin Owens was doing every move without that arm. So I would say that he's probably hurt, and we're probably going to hear something about it on Friday. I have not heard anything since the pay per view,
Well, apparently Owens tweeted, "I fought like hell. Now I need a little break. I'll be back soon." That was yesterday at
which is cryptic.
10:35.
Yeah, that's pretty cryptic. But yeah, I think he's legitimately hurt just because they never touched that arm the entire match, and he was holding it almost the entire match. Even when he hit the stunner, he had it like his arm was in a sling. Um, yeah, it wasn't normal. But kudos for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for having an injury like that early in the match and still making a great match out of it. Both of them put on a hell of a performance. I was severely impressed with if he is actually injured and if it is a broken wrist or something like that. They put on a damn good match without using one arm. So that just speaks to how good both those guys are.
Yeah, this was a really good match, and we've seen it before, like
Mhm.
many times, and
Yep.
it never gets boring. They always deliver. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when both of them have both arms.
yeah,
Yeah, I was just severely impressed with how well they did with an injury. Because you could even see after the match, Kevin Owens was talking to the ref, and he was basically saying that he was hurt. He said that he couldn't feel it. I did read that from his lips when he was talking to the ref. You could not actually hear it, but he did say, "I can't feel anything." So not good. So hopefully he's okay. Hopefully we have an update about that here shortly. Hopefully by Sunday we do have a update on that. But moving
hopefully it's
on.
just something minor.
Yeah,
We
we
want to
can't
see him
have
go.
Kevin Owens. Yeah, I mean Kevin Owens. He just a year and a half ago he returned from injury. Um, so yeah, that's the last thing we want is Kevin Owens to be gone again, especially with how hot of a face he is right now. But next up we had Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. What a great match that got ruined.
Yeah, the ending was just bad. I mean, one question though: are
Uh-huh.
either of these supposed to be a face? Because they both just come off as heels.
I don't
And
think so.
I,
I think Rhea's supposed to be a tweener. I mean, that's how she kind of was in NXT as well. She was a tweener. Because she played face sometimes, played heel sometimes. But she's not playing the face here, and Charlotte's obviously the heel. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, but I mean, the match itself was good. I enjoyed the majority of this match. Just the end, Rhea Ripley throwing. What would you even call that piece? I never know what to call that piece of the table.
uh, advertisement, I guess.
I guess
Plastic
the little
advertisement,
little
or
plastic panel that's on top of the commentator's desk. Um, yeah, she ripped it off, and when she ripped it off, uh, she hit Charlotte with it, and that ended up being a disqualification. Uh,
although they use the announce table all the time and never get disqualified, so
yeah, you
why
get your
didn't
head
this time?
smashed off of it all the time, and they nobody says a word. But the 1 second that thin plastic piece barely taps Charlotte, it's yeah, it's a disqualification, which just looked dumb. And what looked even dumber is that Rhea Ripley threw her back into the ring, hit a riptide, and laid her out. Like it was nothing. Like, why didn't you just do that during the match? If you were going to lay Charlotte Flair out anyway, why not have Charlotte just take the damn pin? Like, it made no sense.
They didn't want Charlotte to lose clean.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just going to continue. It's going to be another continuation, probably until Money in the Bank, and I wouldn't be surprised if something stupid happens there too, and it goes to SummerSlam, because they're two of the biggest women that Raw has, so it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, who else is going to go against Ripley right now? I mean, Baszler just lost.
Yeah.
They shouldn't put it on
Alexa.
Alexa just came back to wrestling. I mean, she's been back, but she just
her pig died.
It's her second match.
Yeah, her pig died, so she was gone for a little bit. Please God, no, it's Drew and Bobby all over again. Yes, and speaking of Drew versus Bobby, with the stipulation of if Drew McIntyre loses, he will not challenge for the WWE Championship while Bobby Lashley has the title. This was much better than I thought it was going to be. This match in general. The entire match was pretty good. Even MVP getting involved with when he was outside the ring before he got into it. Sliding his cane through the cell, which allowed Bobby Lashley to get the upper hand. Yeah, I mean, I just enjoyed pretty much all of this match. There was a lot of big spots in this match, with some chairs, with some kendo sticks, everything like that.
When Drew was pinned under the cane, I was like, bro, throw your hands up and slide down. We can all see you can move.
What I will say is there was one point in this match where Drew McIntyre got, it was like a uranagi from the apron, supposedly through a table. You never saw Drew McIntyre land, but when they cut the camera over there was a hand under the ring. Did you catch that?
No.
I will send that to you. There was a hand underneath the ring that was pushing it. You could see it clear as day. It pushed the table, one of the sides of the broken tables. So I'm curious if he actually went through the table or if he was caught and the guy rolled underneath the apron, because there was a man under there. 100%. There was a man under that ring, and I will share that clip happily.
Was it Hornswoggle?
No, it was a grown-ass man. It was a big arm. Somebody was under the match, underneath the mat, the entire match. As soon as we get done, I will send that to you, because it is hilarious. Ty said that he saw it as well. But yeah, I didn't see it live. I saw it on Twitter right after the match. I saw the clip of it and I watched it a couple times. I'm like, damn, that is an arm, and you see it clear as day slide out and then back in, like trying to hide. But that also brings me to Friday. 2 Fridays ago when Dominic got yeeted, you never saw him land. You just saw him fly through the air. So did somebody catch him as well? Because you don't have fans in attendance, so you could easily get away with it. It makes sense. I don't know. It was just something.
They don't want to show him landing on cardboard and foam.
I guess so.
It would have been ripped like the AEW was.
I guess so, but now they're getting ripped because there was a man underneath the ring the entire match, and we didn't have a surprise. So there was just a guy under the ring for no reason other than possibly to catch Drew McIntyre there to kind of lighten that fall. But yeah, going back to the match, the referee does get knocked out by really a chair being pushed into him, which makes the Hell in a Cell open so another referee can come in. But MVP also comes in. And he gets locked in there with Drew McIntyre and takes a couple bumps. McIntyre does have the advantage towards the end of the match. He looks like he's going to hit a Claymore, but he gets his leg grabbed by MVP, and then Bobby Lashley runs over and gets the roll up win, which made Drew McIntyre cry. But now
It was
we
a decent match, but I still think the Reigns match should have been here.
And that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. So the rumor had it that Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio was taken off of the card because they were having multiple surprises and swerves throughout the night. And they didn't want Roman, who everybody knows is the best thing in WWE right now, to overshadow any of those debuts or returns or whatever it may have been. But then they didn't have anything at all. No surprises. All the matches were fairly obvious, as Trevor's gonna talk about the prediction chart thing. Yeah, I pretty much knew the majority of these matches how they were gonna end up because it just seemed pretty obvious to me. But there was no returns, so you could have easily had Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio on. There's no point. At no point should you have had that on SmackDown. Maybe for the views, but this was it was better than any of the matches that were on Hell in a Cell, in my opinion, with way better story on top of it as well. Roman Reigns is your guy. He should be main eventing the majority of the pay-per-views.
Yeah, I read the thing that was like, "Oh, Brock's gonna return. That's why they didn't want you to be overshadowing Roman." And
Nope.
no Lesnar.
Maybe that was Lesnar underneath, and he just never came out. He's like, fuck this contract. He just never came out.
He's like, "Shit, I've watched Raw. I don't like the stories. That was awful." For the winners for the predictions, if you didn't see it, we had Travis Horn, Travis, and Cody.
Hello.
First place. Travis and Cody have both, or Travis has won 2 in a row now, and I think he's rigging it. And I'm the one that did the whole thing, so yeah.
I'm sending you right now. I wish I could pull it up. Actually, I can. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. You continue to talk. I'm going to pull it up.
And for second place, we had Mark, Ty, Will, and Chad Evans. And fourth place, we had Tyler and DKA. Everybody that participated got strands this time because there was nobody that would have been in fourth place. Ty, you were second place for the second time in a row, but you're number 1 in our heart, buddy.
All right. So currently, I am saving this hand, and I'm going to add it to. I'm going to do everything really quick right now so I can add this on here. All right. Image. Boom, boom, boom. I just want everybody to see this hand that was under the ring so we don't seem crazy. Boom, boom, boom. So how are you? How did you like the week in wrestling?
A lot of ups and, some downs. Called Raw.
True.
But,
hey, we got it.
I don't understand the whole thing with WWE moving that to the on pay-per-view.
All right, so if you look at the
That is a
stream,
hand.
there is a hand. That is not anybody else's hand. That is a hand underneath the ring that pushed that table out. There's a hand. I wasn't lying. I wasn't crazy. But in the video, you can see the hand. It like pushes that table kind of underneath of Drew. This is just kind of the beginning of when you see it. But it goes all the way out. It extends all the way out and pushes that table kind of against Drew. But yeah, was a hand. Somebody was under the ring the entire match. So I don't think. Because do you see in that picture, do you really see any debris from the table? Do you see any broken bits or anything? Besides that one
No.
by his ear?
No, they probably threw that too.
That's what I was thinking.
Because there's usually a number of little pieces around.
And there's nothing there. Yeah, I'm convinced that he didn't go through that table. I'm convinced that a guy caught him and slid out those boards really quick. And he just wasn't fast enough before the cameras cut. Yeah. But yeah, it's gone now. But that is our week in wrestling. That is Hell in a Cell 2021. Trevor, do you have any last words?
Thanks again for everybody that participated in the predictions. If you didn't, you should. It's easy. It takes like a minute to fill out. It's just multiple choice and putting your name in. And you get a chance at strands, which you can use on NAW to get yourself title matches, get yourself booked. If you want to be booked, it's a good way to earn some more strands. And remember to check us out tomorrow. What do we got going on tomorrow? Is Travis playing a game or is there something else?
No, he should be playing a game tomorrow. He should be playing a game, and I'd like it to be Halo. I don't think we're starting that yet. But we will be.
Travis is in chat still, so Travis, you want to tell us what you're doing?
What game you're playing tomorrow? Halo tomorrow. Oh, hell yeah. Hell
And then,
yeah.
Of course, on Thursday we have NAW.
Facts.
Friday, are you doing anything?
I may.
We're talking about
I do.
community night or something. But
Yeah, I do pop-up streams every now and then. I'd like to. I think we might be doing Halo again, possibly, or I might switch it up and give you guys a little surprise.
And then keep a lookout for any pop-up streams Cody might do. Never know.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we should be back Sunday finally next week, right?
We're finally
Unless
back
something
on
comes
Sunday
up.
after 3 weeks of Mondays. Well, 2 weeks of Mondays, one of a Tuesday. We are officially back on Sunday. Sunday. Yeah. It's gonna be fun to be back on a Sunday, and then it gives me my Monday gaming stream back as well, because that was stripped away from me because of all these pay-per-views lined up the past 3 weeks. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys again for coming out. I see there's 9 of you here. That's really nice of you. But yeah, thank you to all of you that stuck around. I know this is a little bit later than the average stream, podcast for us. But yeah, you guys stuck through Warcraft. You guys stuck through the Nerds of Wrestling podcast. So thank you guys very much. Yeah, and we will see you guys on Sunday. See ya.
The following announcement has been paid for by the
nOw.